Welcome everyone to the Retro Chat. Welcome to episode 8. My name is Andy Evans and I am here bringing you all of the retro goodness. Hope you're all doing well. Hope everyone is keeping good. We've had the heat wave. That's all been and gone. Now it's back to business as usual. This week on Retro Chat, we are going to be talking all things Knight Rider, the original 1980 series featuring the iconic David Hasselhoff. Now, before we get into all of that goodness, if you would like to get in contact with us here at Retro Chat, you can. All you need to do is look at social media. So on screen, if you're watching us on the YouTube feed, you've got everything displaying for you. Facebook, Retro Chat Podcast. Instagram, Retro Chat Podcast. Tweet us at Retro Chat Pod. Visit the YouTube channel, which you're already doing if you're watching the video. But if you're listening to the podcast, check out the YouTube, search for the Retro Chat Podcast, or email me, studio@retrochat.co.uk. And there is one more, which is not listed on there, and that is Discord. We are now sharing the Ministry of Slam Community Discord channel. We have our own channel on there, Retro Shock, but you can come and join with the amazing interactive conversation with the MOS community from the Ministry of Slam. So there are conversations happening all over the place, 24/7. I used to be a member of the MOS back in the day, along with Lee Tyers, and I do some odd stuff for them here and there. In fact, recording this on a Monday, Thursday this week, I will be on MOS in a very special Question of Sports Entertainment, where it will be Lawrence as the question master, and I will be taking on Lee in a trivia challenge. So come and join us 8 o'clock on Twitch. Just search. I don't edit things out. Just search for the MOS Nation. So, social media details on the left. Last week we didn't have a show because of sickness. I was off sick. Suspected COVID, but it wasn't, if you will. But we're back now. But the week before that, it was Chris Vint and I were talking about the Masters of the Universe 2000 reboot series. Great feedback on that one. So glad everybody has enjoyed it. Coming up soon, we're going to be back with Chris, and we're going to be doing a very quick look at the 5 episodes that have dropped of Revelation, the Masters of the Universe series from Kevin Smith that premiered on Netflix this past Friday. We're going to be looking at the first 5 episodes and giving our thoughts on it, and also discussing why it's really split the fandom in half. Some people love it. Most people seem to hate it. I'm on the camp of I absolutely love it, and I can't wait for part 2 to come out later this year. Also, guest announcements for you. We're going to keep you up to date. We've had a couple of delays. J. Anthony Frank will be conducted this week from the California Dreams. James Eatock had to reschedule. And we've also had confirmation that joining us on a future episode right here of Retro Chat will be the voice of Lion-O from the Thundercats. Mr. Larry Kenny, the legendary voiceover artist, will be coming to Retro Chat. We have the date for when that interview is going to be conducted. I am really looking forward to sitting down with Larry one more time. This will be my 3rd sit down now with Larry, so I'm really looking forward to sitting back down with him one more time and finding out what else there is to know about the myth, the man, the legend of Lion-O, of what he's done at the Silverhawks, his career, and what he's up to now as a family man. So stay tuned. More information when that will be released very soon, but it will be a video cast and it will be on the podcast feed as well. Okay, so Knight Rider, one of my favorite shows of all time. And why is it? Because quite simply, it was so far ahead of its time. I mean, if you think about a black Pontiac Trans Am with the Cylon visor at the front, it was so cool, right? And you got in the car, and it talked back to you. And then he did turbo boost. I remember many a day when I was a youngster, my father and I would travel from our home to in Ross in Wales down to Worcester in the Midlands to see my grandparents. And we'd be on the M50, so one of the big main motorways here in the UK. And all of a sudden, there'd be an empty stretch of road. Dad would go turbo boost and put the foot down, and off you go. And straight down the road, suddenly speeding up. I do it now. Not meant to, but, I do it now. But it was something about Knight Rider. I don't know what it was. It was just, I suppose it was because it was so unique at that point. It was so sci-fi. But it was action at the same point, and it was comedy, and it was drama, and it was a crime-fighting story, but yet it wasn't. It was brilliant, and part of it also goes to that amazing relationship between the three main characters: David Hasselhoff, Edward Mulhare, and William Daniels. Kit, Michael Knight. That was the show, right? That was the show. Now, what we are going to be doing at some point in the future is taking some episodes of Knight Rider and sitting down and doing a watch along. We're going to be doing that with a lot of programs, including Baywatch, including the Turtles, maybe some episodes of He-Man. But today, this is an overview of the franchise. This is why it is so cool. So Knight Rider originally launched in 1982. It lasted for 4 seasons, but then it disappeared. So in 1986, it went off air and was off until 1997. And 97 was the spin-off, the first of the spin-offs, called Team Knight Rider. And Team Knight Rider basically took the franchise in a completely different direction. It was still about flag, but they didn't have talking cars. And there was a team. There was 4. There was no Michael Knight. There was no Wilton. There was nothing in there at all. There was no Devon Miles. That's who I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the name there. It was literally 4 members of Flag doing the same sort of task as what Michael Knight did, but as a tandem. Now, it only lasted 1 year, so it wasn't the most popular of the franchises. Shift forward 10 years after that, so a decade after the end of Team Knight Rider, we had, get this, Knight Rider. Yeah, Knight Rider. 2008 to 2009 was the spin-off, the reboot of the original Michael Knight, featuring his son. And we'll be talking about that in an upcoming episode as well, where I'll be joined by my old buddy Lee Tyers. And we'll be talking all about Knight Rider 2008. So for now, this is about Knight Rider. Created by Glennae Larson. Now, Glennae Larson, back in the 80s, was all over TV, from Buck Rogers to Battlestar Galactica, to Airwolf, to Knight Rider. And it was just so cool, and it was so tongue-in-cheek, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, really. It was just, I don't know what made it so popular, I really don't. But one thing I do know that would have helped, it just brings back so many memories of when you're looking at the episodes and when you're looking at Knight Rider, and then it was just brilliant. I feel like I'm waffling because I think I really am, but it was just tremendous, and it's done so much, I think, for the genre. I mean, it really made one man. It made Michael Knight. It made David Hasselhoff, someone that I've always admired. And Hasselhoff might be regarded as a corny actor, a very cheesy actor, and jump in my car, but he brought something to the role. He brought something to Michael Knight. He brought something that we hadn't seen before at that point. And that was, I think, some humanity. You needed to have that ability to play off a partnership with a talking car. And he did it. And we saw the character develop so much from the pilot right the way through to the finale. Season 4 of Knight Rider did get a little bit OTT, where they started putting missiles and boosters onto Kit, but that's when the series is going a bit too far. It was also very tongue-in-cheek to itself. It was also very much a nod. So if you talk about kit, if you talk about the Knight Industries 2000, and you think about the Cylon light, and that's what I call it, the Cylon light, because it's a nod back to Battlestar. The Cylons with the flashing red light going across their tin heads. And it's something to this day that I find so cool. And actually, when you think about a lot of modifiers on cars, they always do that. One of the things that didn't work so well, though, was its move over into film and its move over into video games. So it's had some TV movies. One of them was called Knight Rider 2000, which was released in 1994. And if you ever watch that show, and we will do an episode on Knight Rider 2000 at some point, it was the idealistic 90s view of what the year 2000 was going to be like, right? And complete rubbish, but the acting was completely pants. They got rid of the Pontiac Trans Am. They put him into a Ford Chevrolet. It was a broken down kit going up against a brand new sports car. It was meant to be the backdoor for a new Knight Rider show, and that never materialized for some strange reason. And then, of course, you had the rumors and the rumors and the rumors of the next new Knight Rider movie, which as yet has not materialized. But Hasselhoff is saying it's in production, it's coming, it's going to go, it's going to happen. So we'll have to wait and see as to whether or not that does work. You then move into video games. Knight Rider the game was released in 2002 on PlayStation 2 and other platforms as well. And it had its sequel 2 years later called Knight Rider the game, funnily enough, 2. They were awful. Absolutely abysmal. They were badly graphic, badly animated, badly played, and you didn't really get anything out of them. So avoid those games like the plague. But maybe what we will do is a retro play on the YouTube channel of the Knight Rider games to see how they stand up now. Great. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. So, 4 seasons, 90 episodes in total. A cast that really gelled. Hasselhoff, we talked about. Edward Mulhare, the late, great Edward Mulhare, playing Devon. That love-hate relationship. That father-son relationship with Devon and Michael Knight. You then also had people like Patricia Mcpherson, David Hasselhoff. I keep calling him Michael Knight. I don't know why. David Hasselhoff's first wife was in the show. Rebecca Holden was in there. But it was William Daniels. Feeney! Mr. Feeney, of course, from Boy Meets World, that I think stole the show. Him and Hasselhoff. But Kit was just so sarcastic, so cutting, so quick. And when we talk about Knight Rider 2008 with Lee, I'm sure we'll talk about the difference between William Daniels and Val Kilmer, who also played Kit. It was completely different, but it was just, you can't be William Daniels as the voice of Kit, right? There you go. Richard Basehart played Wilton Knight. He was the founder of Flag. And he died in the pilot episode. And it's Michael Knight. His reconstructed face of the pilot is based on a very young, apparently, image of Richard Basehart. And actually, when you put the two of them together in the episode, they did look very similar. But you can hear his voice throughout the series doing both the narrative for the intro and for the outro. So let's talk about the car. Let's talk about some facts and figures. So the car that was using Kit, as we said, was a Pontiac Trans Am. It was a Firebird, to be more precise, and it cost $100,000 at the time to build. So if you compare that to 2018, that was equivalent to $266,000 for the vehicle. Michael Sheff, a designer, created the nose and the dashboard of the car to make it unique for Knight Rider. One of the stuntmen on the series, a guy called Jack Gill, said in the extras that Kit's ride height was dropped 1.5 inches, which is approximately 4 centimeters, from a stock Trans Am. The main car that they used was the only one that contained that intricate Star Wars dashboard that you looked at with all the monitors and the LCDs and the lights. And spare cars were always on hand because they used to use them for turbo boost. And when they turbo boosted them, or they were doing the split, or doing the castings, they would normally get wrecked, absolutely get wrecked. And the only car that Universal actually had to pay for was the main car. The rest of them were gifted by Pontiac because of the fact that you imagine how much revenue they got because of this, right? They were all over the place with Pontiac getting publicity because of this, and David Hasselhoff and William Daniels doing PR and advertising. This was a massive money spinner for them. So what we didn't know, or what I didn't know at the time, was the fact that William Daniels would record his lines as Kit after the episode had been completed. So him and Hasselhoff never worked together. But what it showed was Hasselhoff's perfect timing and ability to act to nothing. And I want you to think back. I want you to go and watch the pilot episode of Knight Rider, because there is a scene where he is first loose from the compound and he's driving down and he falls asleep. And he falls asleep and he gets pulled over by the police. And Kit goes, "Michael, wake up, Michael, Michael." But he tells him what to do. So he says, "You might want to sit with your neck cricked," and all this type of thing. Now, Hasselhoff needed to have timing. He needed to know when to do it, how to do it. And you can call that acting. You can call that knowing your profession. But I call that having the ability to read between the lines, to fly by the seat of your pants. And then William Daniels fitted in accordingly. But Hasselhoff also had an assistant off camera. So some of his lines would be read through the car stereo to make it feel that he could play back. But he still had to try and imagine Kit saying it and not just, some person going, "Michael, wake up, Michael." And one of the most notable things about Knight Rider was the soundtrack. And the theme was composed by Stu Phillips and Glennae Larson. And it was actually remastered a few years ago into a song, which I can't remember who did it, but I'll find out before we go. And the soundtrack was about two albums now. They re-released it back in 2018. And the song was purely synthesizers. You can't imagine anything else. You really cannot imagine anything else. So let's look at the episode count. So season 1 was 22 episodes long, aired from 82 through to May the 6th, 1983. Season 2 was 24. That was the longest season out of all 4 of them, running from October the 2nd, 83 to May 27th, 84. Season 3 was 22, airing from September the 30th, 84 to May 5th, 85. And season 4 was 22, airing from September the 20th, 85 to April 4th, 86. And the intro to most of the shows, regardless of what you heard earlier on, was normally Knight Rider, a shadowy flight into a dangerous world of a man who does not exist. Michael Knight, a young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of criminals who operate above the law. Yeah. Michael Knight, a lone crusader in a dangerous world, the world of the Knight Rider. Dun dun. Sorry, absolutely fantastic. Really, really, really loved it. Please, if you haven't seen it, get yourself a copy of Knight Rider available on box set. One thing about doing the show, right, is the fact that it is so fun to look back at some of these old things and just talk to people who have share a similar love for all things retro, and just kind of, get that love out there and get the geekness out there. And when you're doing it on your own as well, you're talking to yourself. I'm literally going mad right now because I'm answering myself back. But I really want to hear from you. Let me know what you think of Knight Rider. Let me know what you think of Kit, and do that on social media. Contact me on Facebook, Retro Chat Podcast. Tweet me, Retro Chat Pod. Comment on Instagram, Retro Chat Podcast, or even email me, studio@retrochat.co.uk. Visit the YouTube channel, Retro Chat Podcast, and come to Discord at the MOS community. That's it for this edition of Retro Chat, episode 8. We'll look at the Knight Rider. My name's Andy Evans. Coming up right here on Retro Chat over the next few weeks, we have got a number of different projects coming. We're going to be looking at the Orville. We're going to be doing a retro legacy on the life and times of Owen Hart. We're going to be looking at the career of Shawn Michaels. In August, it's 20 years since SummerSlam 2001 took place. So we're going to be taking a look at that. We're going to be talking about the Turtles. We're going to be talking about Baywatch. We're going to be talking about Knight Rider 2008. We're going to be talking about Battlestar Galactica at some point. We're going to be doing the Ghostbusters. We're going to have guests. We're going to have interviews. We're going to have retro shows, archives, deep from within. And a big thank you, while we're talking about that, to Chris Vint for Martin the Universe Chronicles. But for now, all that's left for me to say, one man can make a difference. I'm not Michael Knight. I'm not living in the world of the Knight Rider, but I'll see you very soon. Until then, take care.